Hello, and welcome to The Gathering, a Magic podcast. My name's Stanley, and I'm here with some of my best friends to talk to you about our favorite game, Magic the Gathering. And today, we are transitioning from standard talk, as last weekend almost all of us went to RC Hartford and had a pretty good time. A little bit of a mixed bag, but pretty good time overall. And now we are transitioning back to modern RCQ season, where we're once again mostly having a pretty good time. And before we jump into those topics, as usual, quick thank you to our sponsor, FlexSlot. FlexSlot.gg, fantastic deck building and sideboard guide website. If you haven't tried it yet, you certainly should. As both a user and a content creator, it's a really great tool to organize your thoughts, put together your sideboard plans, get a nice little printout that you can bring with you to your tournament, and make sure that you are ready to rock and roll at your paper events. You can also build your deck list, you can export your deck list, copy and paste it into Melee before your event, super easy. You can export the little pictures, so FlexLot does it all. If you haven't tried it yet, certainly give it a try. I use it for all my sideboard guides and deck lists, and it's great. So with that, RC Hartford. Some of us have a lot of notes, some of us have not so many notes. As usual, I'm gonna resist going first. Nick is really excited to talk about stocking it up. So go ahead, bud. Stock it up for us.
Yeah, I stocked up a lot at the RC. I ended 9-5-1. I was 9-5, and then me and my last round opponent drew, just to lock in the top 128 slot since I wasn't qualified for Houston or Vegas yet. And yeah, I mean, I played Izzet Prowess like more than 35% of the room, pretty much. Deck was great. My losses, 3 of my losses were to like off meta stuff that's just like, how can you play around it? And then my other 2 where I was against Oculus was one of my other losses, and Domain was another one of my other losses. I knew going into it Oculus was going to be a horrible matchup, and then Domain I just didn't have very much experience in the matchup, and I made some misplays due to that. But yeah, I mean, I can't really complain with how I did. I went into day 2 at 6-3, so obviously you have to win out from there pretty much to actually qualify for the Pro Tour, which was definitely asking for a lot. So I was definitely happy to at least recoup an RC invite off of it. So I'm happy.
Very nice. I also played Prowess a little a little less stock as usual, but I finished 61st, which I should be happier about, but I was just so close to doing a lot better than that. I started 7-1, which was really exciting. Won all my Prowess mirrors, beat everything that wasn't Prowess. The only deck I was really not prepared for this weekend was mono red. I wish I brought Unable to Scream. But I just was not as ready for that matchup as I should have been. But started 7-1, and then last round of the day, mulled to 5 twice, and kind of had a non-match, which 7-2 going to day 2 was still my best start in day 2. But up and down day 2, actually had a Pro Tour winning in, which I ultimately lost. Jacob was there to witness the brutality of lost the die roll in the mirror, triple Swiss Spear start in game 1. Game 1 I had a lot of ways to play it. It's hard to win Prowess mirrors on the draw. I forget what my opponent played on turn 1, but they played a turn 2 Draycatcher.
I just want to say, I actually take the draw in the Prowess mirror.
I'm sure you do. I believe you. Um, my opponent played turn 2 Draycatcher, and I had a lot of options with my hand, but none of them killed the Draycatcher. And I just decided, you know what? I'm pretty sure triple Swiss Spear is a turn faster than whatever my opponent can do with this Draycatcher. And it was. So I won game one. We went into game two. I took an early lead and played my fifth land and bought back Opt. And then I played my sixth land and cast Opt, put a Shivan Reef on the bottom, drew a Shivan Reef, drew an Opt for turn, did it again, bottom Shivan Reef, draw Shivan Reef. By the end of the tragedy, I had worked through 14 of my 20 lands.
Stanley had 5 lands on bottom, I remember. There's like 3 reefs and 2 river pirate verges and 9 lands in play. I watched him level 3, I think it was 2 Storm Chasers talents. It was at least 1. That was just game 2. It was brutal. Because I think you kept a 4-land, 3 spell hand that was like pretty good, and then you drew a land, and then I was like, okay. And then you drew a spell, and I was like, oh, sick. This is going to go well. Like, usually when I keep 4-landers, I like to draw a bajillion lands. You just fell into the classic JK trap, where you keep these 4-landers, and you draw a bajillion lands. But except, like, most of my decks that I play, like, you have no card quality to look at. You just kind of like a raw drawing cards, whereas you're like, oh, bottom the land. I'll be good. I'll draw a spell statistically wrong. It was brutal.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about that game except when, like, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to buy back this Opt. And then from there I remember everything. But at the beginning I just remember, like, my opponent was under 5. I think they were at 4. And then they pain landed themselves down to 3 at one point. But it was just... It was brutal. That's Magic for you, though. So, 61st, got my RCQ. Like, top 64 gets decent enough prizing. So, at some point, maybe I'll look back and be like, yeah, I did good. But it just sucks to be that close. And then it all slips away. There was a game 3 there, but opponent was just like, double cutter, run me over. I had, like, an average hand. And my opponent had a very, very above average hand. So, unfortunately, it was what it was. Definitely some changes I would make to the deck. But biggest thing was I really wish I had Unable to Scream for Mono Red. I lost to Mono Red twice. And then I lost 3 of my 8 prowess mirrors. One being the double mull to 5. One being the Pro Tour winning in. Another being... a pretty big mistake that I don't really feel like telling that story again. But it's on the write-up that I posted for free on Patreon. But yeah, we're not going to get back into that story. So yeah, I ended 10-5, 61st. My best result, but... Jacob played Mono Red at Hartford. And got off to a hot start. You want to talk about your experience, Jacob?
Yeah, I want to bottom line up front. I did not day 2, which it was tragic. It kind of ruined. I'm not gonna say it ruined my weekend, but I definitely didn't want to play Magic after day 1. Like I tried playing in the Modern 5K, and then like both rounds I lost both rounds in like pretty quick fashion, like first few rounds, and I was like, I honestly don't care anymore. But I started 4-0 playing essentially Mono Red, but we should take it back. The Tuesday of the week of Hartford, I went 1-34 in matches played with Izzet. And that was like every iteration. I played Stanley's List, where I finished like a league going 3-2, which I was like the only win on the day was that. I like lost a match to Mono Red, won a game against a match against Mono Black Demons. Finished out that league, was like, oh, I'm gonna try out like a stock list. Went 0-3 drop from a league, 0-3 drop from a league, 0-3 drop from a league. Just getting nut drawn in the mirror, and then. I was like, okay, maybe it's MTGO, maybe I'll swap to Arena, get some better variants. No, it was terrible. So I crashed out that night. I told everyone, I was like, maybe I'm not playing in the main event. Who knows? And then I like took a shower, was like, this mono red deck's probably pretty good. That was like what I was going to pivot to if I couldn't figure out what I was playing. Look at some lists online. Most of the lists are playing main deck Magebane Lizard, so I was like, probably pretty good. And I was just smoking people. So I was like, okay, I'm going to play mono red with Magebane Lizard. But the decks that I was worried the most about were the temp lockdown decks that have the ability to pressure you pretty well. So Jeskai Control, Oculus, and then Omniscience sometimes, especially post-board, where they can go like turn 3 lockdown, turn 4 Overlord, or turn 4 Beza, and you have nothing to do about it. So I decided to essentially just play mono red, splashing green for sideboard cards. So I was playing 4 Paw Patch Formation, 2 Questing Druids in the sideboard. And I started 4-0, lost essentially a mirror match where my opponent was playing a sweet mono red list, so splashing white. So he was playing 4 Sheltered by Ghost in the main deck, and I think it was like 3 or 4 Destroy Evils in the sideboard. And just a great match. And then I won round 6 to go to 5-1, and then I lost 3 matches in a row. I lost my first loss to Is It Prowess All Weekend, and that was the only match I didn't draw Magebane Lizard. And then I lost to Jeskai Control, which is arguably the worst matchup, which I managed to take a game off him, which was surprising. And then I lost to Rakdos Leyline, where game 1 I died on turn 3 without a Leyline in play, and game 2 I died on turn 4 without a Leyline in play, which was just... In both games, I killed their first 2 creatures. I was like, okay, wasn't meant to be. But I definitely... the ups on the weekend is all my opponents were great. My Jeskai Control opponent kind of tilted me a little bit in game 1, but that was just like one of their mannerisms, and we talked through it, and then it was all good. But all my opponents were great. I think my play was phenomenal over the entire course of the weekend. I kept myself hydrated. I ate in between rounds. I didn't feel fatigued by the end of the end of the tournament, which was something I was expecting because I haven't played in this many rounds in a tournament in a long time, not since like Opens and GPs, because this is my second RC that I've played in since the iteration of the regional championship coming into Magic. And then I also hosted Stanley, Julianne, and Nick there at my place, so vibes were good all the way around. It was a good weekend, all in all. I got to meet some great people, play some great games of Magic. So I really, really enjoyed the gathering aspect, looking back on it more now than the Magic aspect. But my preparation will be different. I will have better preparation because I feel like I had zero preparation for this tournament because I just kind of assumed I was going to play Is It, and then it wasn't what I wanted to play, and then didn't do enough play testing with Mono Red to really, really figure out how I wanted to build my list. And I think that going forward, I'll probably just 4 Magebane Lizards in the main. I'll definitely play 4 Witch Stalker's Frenzy instead of 3, and then I don't need the green splash. Like, you're probably losing to Oculus anyways, and you just have to accept the matchup lottery how it is.
Yeah, vibes were definitely great all around. The gathering was awesome. It was great hanging out, seeing you again. I'm trying to work Unk in, but I just can't do it smoothly as you. Definitely not as smoothly as Nick.
That's why he's Unk. He doesn't know.
There we go. See? I knew someone would come in clutch for me. Highs and lows at the convention center. It's been kind of beaten to death on Twitter already, but literally worst chairs of any convention center across the entire universe. Andrew, who played Gruul Leyline in the Pro Tour, he suggested as one of his like paper play pro tips that we talked about from my Patreon Discord, like get a seat cushion and bring it with you. I could have kissed that man. I was so glad to have my seat cushion, despite losing it on 3 different occasions, but somehow I got it back every time. But having a cushion was really OP because those were the worst chairs in the entire universe. However, The cheese pizza was OP.
I was just about to talk about that. I was about to say, like, downside of the event hall. First of all, it kind of sucked that, like, like, the event halls are always very large, but it was, like, it felt like I had to walk extra far to get to any place to play Magic. But the concession stand was just elite. Like, all the pricing was great. I felt like there was a plentiful number of bathrooms. Every time you go to a Magic tournament, like, the minority is everyone who is not a man. Let's just say that, right? A lot of males play Magic, so most male restrooms are overcrowded at Magic tournaments. Well, there was like 9 male restrooms, so I never had a hard time going to making it to the restroom on time or anything like that. There were water fountains everywhere, so I could always refill my water bottle, which was super nice. And then also there was a Starbucks in the lobby, which was dope. So in between rounds, I would like go get Starbucks if I needed the caffeine high. So good vibes.
Yeah. Besides the chairs, the convention center was very above rate. However, the chairs were like negative a million, so it's like hard to figure out how it rates among convention centers. But yeah, it was I had a seat cushion, so it was pretty good overall. If you didn't have a seat cushion, I don't know.
I saw on Twitter, X, I should say X, that someone
Don't
said...
say X. God, it's Twitter. Come on.
It's Twitter.
All right.
Of all people, you too. Like, why are you...
Definitely don't say X, formerly known as
Not very
Twitter.
unk of
I
you.
saw,
Not
I
unk
saw
at all.
on Twitter
Definitely not OG.
that someone said that just like a couple seats down from them, in the middle of a match, someone's chair just completely collapsed on them. And I could not imagine playing like a high stakes match and just like fall to the ground. Like, what an awkward judge call that would be.
Judge, I'm injured. I need a time extension.
Yeah, can I get an extension for this broken leg?
The only other thing about the convention hall, which I do believe they ended up fixing it eventually, but there was this really loud squeaking noise over the table 100, and it was very obnoxious. Everyone was talking about it around that area, but I do think they eventually fixed it.
They definitely eventually fixed it. I've completely forgot about that, though. I actually called a judge at one point and asked them, like, are we doing anything about this? Are people aware of this? It was brutal. It was in the, yeah, like you said, it was around the top tables, and it was horrible. Real convention center of highs and lows.
Definitely.
Julianne, anything else from Hartford you want to share?
So unfortunately I did not make day 2, but that's okay because I did end up joining the Vibes 20K, the champion of the Americas.
How were the vibes, by the way?
So in general, all the people that I met were very fun. It was like a very welcoming community. I did not have a deck. I just bought a starter deck and played that. But I don't think it's the game for me, and that's okay. But I had fun. It was good vibes.
That's what matters.
And you got a nice playmat, right?
I did, yes. All participants got a playmat, and we got 2 promos, and
Did
they
you sell
had...
the promos?
I do have the promos.
Oh, you kept them, okay.
Yes. I still have my deck, too. It's just a starter deck, so...
Yeah.
And I got a picture with their mascot, Pengu, which, for the audio listeners, is just like a giant inflated blue penguin. It's very cute.
I also made sure to get a picture of Pengu. Couldn't pass that up.
I made sure not to get a picture with Pengu. That was something I specifically did not want to
Dude,
do.
Pengu's the man. You're missing out.
I am okay with missing out. I miss out on a lot of stuff. I'm old, I'm grumpy, it's fine.
You must be
Jacob?
one in a red.
Jacob, did you take a picture with Pengu? I don't think you did you?
Nope, I avoided him.
Oh yeah, how did I forget? I don't know why that reminded me. I lost a chunk of my tooth on Friday night. I like nearly forgot about that. I still need to get scheduled for the dentist, but we're eating dinner and I'm talking about nothing.
Who is doing that?
That's got to be Jacob. Yeah, it was definitely
Jacob's
Jacob.
flicking cards.
Oh,
We're in the middle of dinner. I think Michael was telling some kind of story, and I was like, wait, and he's like, oh, and he like tries to re-explain what, and I'm like, no, wait. There's like a hole in my mouth where one of my teeth used to be, and I kind of freaked out. I thought a whole tooth was missing. Eventually, we were able to do some investigation, and it was just a quarter of one of my molars, but just completely lost it.
Investigation. Stanley goes to the bathroom for 15 minutes to take pictures of his tooth.
It's hard to take. It was one of my molars. It's hard to like.
They're good pictures. It was like 1440p. I saw everything. I was like, sick.
Well, someone came in and offered to help me. So
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. Well, I needed help. I don't know how familiar. Like it's hard to get perspective. Like when something's wrong in your mouth, it's really hard to kind of really like understand what exactly is going on in there. I really thought I was missing a whole tooth, but it was a quarter of my molar. It didn't hurt. It didn't really bother me over the weekend. Besides the like immense stress of like, what's going on with my tooth? But it was okay. Also, I promised a shout out to one of my opponents. Peter Handy is a fan of the show. Peter and I had a great match. Peter was on Demir midrange. We had a lot of fun. So Peter, it was great to meet you. Thanks for hanging out for a round. And I believe Peter made his way to day 2. So congrats on that, Peter.
that's king stuff right there.
Yeah. What else? Anything else I'm missing on Hartford? The barbecue was pretty good.
Yeah, the restaurants are definitely understaffed. By Sunday, Stanley saved a young family from a tragic dinner experience. So that was a up check, 5 out of 5 unks for Stanley.
That's true. We went to the burger place, and the restaurants near the convention center were not ready for this level of nerd herding, and we just really the Magic players just exhausted the restaurants, and so the burger place we went to Sunday afternoon, they must have had like 3.5 people on staff or something like that. It was very brutal. We had very long waits for everything: water, food, checks. I had to like go hunt down water for us because Evan got spicy chicken and he's like dying. And I'm like, all right, let's go get some water. And as we're walking out, there's a bunch of people sitting, waiting, and there's this small family in line, a man, woman, and a small child, like waiting to talk to the hostess. And I'm a new dad. I'm looking at this child going, no shot. Like the dad's got the kids' books with him. I'm like, I can't let this happen. So I'm like, listen, man, I don't know how committed you are to eating at this specific restaurant, but there was a convention this weekend. They got slammed. They have very little staff. The waits are going to be very long. You should probably go literally anywhere else. Like just anywhere else. The barbecue place next door was good. It's more like Chipotle style where the food's already cooked. Maybe go there. And he's like, okay, yeah, sure. And I walk out and they just stay in line, and he must have, talked to his wife, because then as we're standing outside, they roll out and start going towards the barbecue place. So that was fun. Little unk action.
Okay.
All right, so With that, Hartford was an experience. A lot of highs, a lot of lows, not a lot of mediums. Mostly just highs and lows. But we still had a good time overall. So, gotta love Magic, gotta love the Gathering. And now we play my favorite format, the format that I really wish every season was Modern Season. I just can't get enough Modern.
Boo. Zero unks. Boo.
If there's one thing I love doing, it's shuffling my deck 7 times per game. That's really the thing that I want to do. I want to shuffle my deck every
Somebody
game.
look for the pods under his couch or something, because the body snatchers have come and taken the real Stanley away. That's the only explanation at this point.
I like that out of all things with Modern, you decided to choose the shuffling, because I remember going to the first Modern RCQ after, I think it was Standard or Pioneer before that, and all the fetching, I also, I think every single match, I was like, I'm not used to shuffle.
It's so
much.
annoying. It's unironically, pretty annoying to shuffle your deck every turn. Oh man. Yeah. So, to be clear, we've maybe hinted at Modern Season a little bit. I don't hate Modern as much as I used to. I think, from a personal standpoint, it's certainly not my favorite. But if I take a step back and try to be objective, Modern feels a lot healthier than it has in a long time. Lord of the Rings got printed, and since then I've actively hated Modern. But right now, since the Breach ban, it's Modern's still not my personal favorite, but I think I've played against 13 to 15 different decks at the 3 RCQs I've gone to, which how can you complain when there's that much diversity? So Nick loves Modern. I'm happy we're back in Modern Season so that more people can have fun and we can have fun in different ways. I'm glad Prowess is playable. The 2 RCQs. Whoa, the thumbs down. Jeez. I did manage to top 8 the 2 RCQs we went to before we went into Modern Prep. More thumbs down. This is brutal out here.
Tough crowd.
One with Hollowvine, one with Prowess. Nick took Hollowvine this weekend. Made it to the finals. I took Prowess this weekend. Missed top 8, but I was due. I got 10th on breakers. Julianne took Energy and made it to the very same finals as Nick. And I want to hear about this finals matchup. House divided. You guys must have had a pretty epic battle in the finals to see who was going to get the invite, right?
I mean, if I recall correctly what happened, she won, and then I was like, oh, did you win? And she said, yeah, I won. And I was like, all right, I'm conceding the finals. And I just walked off, got my deck, put it in my bag.
I don't believe it. I more likely believe that Julianne looked you in the eye and said, if you don't concede to me, you're sleeping on the couch tonight.
Yeah, actually, she said, no splits, no draws, let's play right now.
I did say, because everyone was joking that we should play, and I did say if we played and he beat me, because I drove to the RCQ, he can find his own way home.
I did offer up the couch in that case, though. I kind of wanted to see the game. I was like, Nick, you can always come hang out on the couch. That's fine.
Well, it's funny because I make the joke, too, that Julianne was one of the only 2 Boros Energy players at the RCQ, and I'm pretty confident that my only bad matchup is Boros Energy. I was like, I don't even want to play. I'm just going to get stomped. This is not going to go well for me.
The fear.
Yeah.
But not the fear of missing out.
No. I missed a FOMO trigger. It didn't even matter. I just kept attack. It was great.
Oh, that's right. We promised to tell that story on the podcast, didn't we?
No problem. Have fish. Attack. We were delirious in the Minneapolis hotel room. Yes, all the way from Minneapolis, and we're just talking about how we're gonna change Is It Prowess for like the next RC. And we're like, oh, I don't even know how we started talking about it. Like, oh, we gotta play like 3 Floodmaws main or whatever. And then you're like, I don't even know how it started. We were just like,
you know, play Corey Steele, play Spell, make up Monk, attack. just doing that over and over again. And then Chamowitz is like, play Lockdown, no problem. Have fish.
Oh, that's right. It was him. I forgot he started it. I forgot it was Chamowitz. Yeah. Stop Lockdown, no problem. Have fish. Attack. Chamowitz contributed a lot to the. I forgot it was him at the overpriced dessert place.
Yeah. He's a fun guy.
He is.
Oh man. I forget what were we just talking about?
Modern RC season. I got destroyed in the finals by a Boris Energy player.
How was your deck? Did you
Great. I turned my brain off. I cast Burning Curry and just let my opponent pick 3 cards. Very, very often did I put a Hollow One and Vengevine into play, and very often my opponent died. I remember my top 8 match I played against Prowess, and I was on the play for game 3. And my hand is like fine. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to like keep Surveil turn 1, turn 2, I'll cast this Faithless Looting, everything's going to be great. And so I do exactly that. I like Surveil. I think I put something irrelevant in their graveyard, go to my turn. I go they go DRC, go to me. I'm like, okay, Faithless Looting, discard, Blazing Roll, Vengevine, cast a Hollow One, trigger Vengevine. My opponent would just took out their hand and conceded. I was like, great, very good. Just how we drew it up.
Oh my god. That was not my experience playing the deck.
Oh yeah, no, I had a great time. What people don't know is because I've only started winning when I played Monstrous Rage decks. Vengevine is one of my favorite Magic the Gathering cards, and Faithless Looting specifically was actually one of my favorite Magic the Gathering cards. I've basically been playing only Faithless Looting decks since Phoenix came out as a card, and then when Hogak, well, not even, a little bit before when Hogak came out, I was playing Bridgevine. And so Vengevine has a special place in my heart as well. And so I haven't been able to play with the card competitively since Faithless Looting got banned, obviously. And so to be able to play the deck again and win with the deck again just felt really good, because every time I play Hollowvine, I'm honestly pretty disappointed by it because I just hate the amount of randomness with it. But I don't know, yesterday was just peak. I was like, I've been trying to play these high agency decks and just stress myself out so much. I'm like, you know what? I don't even care. I'm just going to cast a bunch of spells. My opponent might die. They don't. It's fine. But they never didn't die. They just always died. So it's great.
Love it.
I know.
We love when our opponent dies.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Julianne, let's hear about the this invite run of the ages.
Yeah, so I played Energy. Nick kind of asked me what I wanted to play because I was looking for my first invite after he got his invite from Hartford. And I was playing Eldrazi for all of the other RCQs, but I kept going X2 and just being 1 win away from top 8. And that was kind of disappointing. So something told me to play Energy. It's what I played in the last Modern season and what I qualified for Charlotte with. And it was funny because I decided to play Energy Thursday night, and then Friday Nick was like, do you want to play anything? Do you want to practice triggers? I was like, no, I'll be fine. I'll just have fun with it. Just play a different deck, see what happens. And what ended up happening was I had some really good opening hands, and I won. So yeah.
Nice. And I almost forgot. I asked Nick earlier in the week, are you guys gonna go to Golden Fang on Friday? Maybe, but probably not. I asked Nick Thursday night. This was a Friday night RCQ. I asked Nick Thursday night, and he goes, 1%. and then Friday, middle of the day, we're going to Golden Fang. What do you think about this Hollowvine list? Like, I know you played it a while ago, but would you make any changes? We changed like 3 to 5 cards, and then you bozos show up and are both the finalists. So from 1% to even show up the night before to like, yeah, the finals will just be us. It's fine.
They hate to see us coming, honestly.
We unironically talked about that on the car ride home.
This happened last RCQ as well, where I scooped to you in the finals. And then I think it was like an RCQ weekend or whatever, because I know they did like 3 RCQs in a row, and I top-aided all 3 of them, and then I think you top-aided 2 of them. And then standard season came, I got my second invite from there, and then I played like Demir mid-range just to like mess around for the second one. Top-aided that. I don't know, we just like, that store just, I don't know, something about it.
There's some real magic happening in Golden Fang games.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, energy felt very good, very powerful.
Good deck.
It's a great deck. Very obvious. Like picking it up again, it was pretty obvious from game 1 why so many people are playing the deck.
That's the thing, not to cut you off, but we were talking about that too. No one's playing the deck, which is like I understand online people are playing it, but I don't see this deck ever at RCQs. Like, I know, Ron, you're committed to Boros Energy player too, but literally, last RCQ, like last weekend, I top-aided with Energy. I think it was just me and Ron were the only 2 Energy players in the room playing it. Yesterday at the RCQ, it's Julianne, Ron, maybe someone else, but I don't even think so. I think it was literally just them 3. Like, I don't see the deck in
I didn't
paper.
see anyone besides.
I think I want to chime in a bit on
Ron.
this because I think
I was going to say I'm sorry, but
no, you're good.
I was at an RCQ that was 32 people today, and there were 3 energy decks.
That's
out
insane.
of a room of 32.
That's crazy.
I think about it a lot like, was like 2014, 2015, 2016 standard when like Abzan was like probably the best deck, the most it did the same thing, right? And it's like just has powerful cards, kills your opponent, right? People don't want to play the deck that like does a thing efficiently well in a linear way, and because there a lot of Magic players are like, I'm better at Magic than I think I am, so why would I play 1-drop into 2-drop into more 1-drops that all synergize well and I kill my opponent? Like, me personally, I just didn't enjoy playing Boros Energy. It's not the style of deck I enjoy playing, but I respect it. Like, I think it's a great deck. I'm just not going to play it, right? But a lot of people are just like, I'm going to play the deck that I think beats Boros Energy, which I think there's like maybe 2 decks in the format that have a very good matchup against Boros Energy, and I don't think there's any other. And the 2 decks that I'm talking about are like very, very, very high power level.
Which ones?
Neo Brand and Amulet Titan.
Okay,
I
I'll
think
agree
Titan
with that.
might be the most popular deck in our area. That's the one deck that, like, talking about how diverse the meta is at the 3 RCQs I went to, but I played against Titan every time, and
There were 4 last night.
it's so not fun.
Yeah. That's we were talking about it earlier, but the one, like, I really enjoy Modern right now. I think it's great. The one deck that I just cannot stand and I just hate is Amulet Titan. Like, I just don't want to deal with it at all.
Amulet Titan reminds me of like peak mono green and Pioneer, where if you were the mono green player, you just sat there doing things and making a bunch of mana for 20 minutes while your opponent just watched. But the only thing I think that is different is Titan, it has some harder lines, and you can very easily make the wrong play and then not kill your opponent, so then your opponent sat there for 20 minutes and you just pass because you didn't kill them. So
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I have fond memories of a Pioneer RCQ where I was playing mono red against mono green, and at one point the mono green player asks me to speed up my play, and I was like, brother, my turns take like 30 seconds each. What are we doing here? He's like, well, I'm playing really fast because I might need like 10 or 15 minutes on my combo turn. And I'm like, okay, well, like, I'm taking ones too, and it's not gonna take me 10 or 15 minutes. Like, I'm gonna take a minute here. Think about my one line, not for 15 minutes, and then we'll keep playing Magic. Good talk.
I think Amulet is. I mean, I've been casting the card Amulet of Vigor since Summer Bloom was legal in Modern, right? So like I've played like the most broken iterations of this deck possible, and I would say that the current iteration deck is probably the best the deck's ever been, just because of your ability to win games that you have like. I think Peter, is it, how do you say his last name? Peter H, who won Portland.
Yeah, Peter H.
Right? I don't want to butcher your last name, but there were games that I watched him play in the top 8 where I was like, yeah, this dude has no business winning this game. And it's like, well, sticks a Collector Oath against Breach, gets all this time in the world to, like, draw out of it, and then, here's Escape Shift, right? And I would be upset to see the card Amulet of Vigor banned in Modern, but maybe you have to do it. Maybe you hit Spelunking to make the deck less consistent, or you ban Escape Shift to make the deck less consistent, or you ban Dryad, but the deck doesn't really have, like, a clear oppressor. Like, there's not, like, a clear check for the card. I said when they printed Modern Horizons 3 they should print Price of Progress, but nobody wants to listen to JK, right? Because your opponent who's playing Amulet Time would think a little bit differently when they decide to put all these non-basics in play where they're going to take 12 damage off a 2-mana spell and die, right? But now it's too broken. We get Sunspine Links instead, just 4 mana, right? So I don't know. Print Price of Progress into Modern, and then you won't have a problem with Amulet Titan anymore, but I think the best way to combat it is play like a Magus of the Moon as quickly as possible, which is like not effective in open deck list anyways, because they're just going to be like, oh, dismember, taka.
I mean, I had a match against them where I nearly lost, on the draw on their turn 3. Where like they didn't even have anything on board. They had 2 lands in play and 1 amulet, and then they just like went to town. It was crazy.
It's also the loop in the deck. So the thing that I've noticed about it, and if you want to get better at playing Amulet Titan, read Dom Harvey's guide. It's free, right? Also, there are very clear pathways with the deck that you have to memorize. But there are still lines that people don't know the correct answer for. Like Dom will even admit this. Every now and again he'll post on Twitter about how he's like, oh, it took me an hour and a half to figure out I had lethal here, like post facto reconstructing it, because the deck's extremely hard to play. But you have to play the deck online in order to get good at it. And if you get good at it, I would play it. Like the worst part about the deck, which Dom talks about in his guide, is most of the cards don't retain their value because they're only played in one deck, right? So if you're okay spending money on a deck that the cards are not going to hold their value necessarily compared to like Boros Energy, where your Ocelot Prides are always going to be $45, right? Like Primeval Titan's always going to see play in formats, Amulet of Vigor is going to see play in Commander, but no one's you're going to chuck a quarter at an LGS owner and they're going to throw you a bounce land, right? Like, it's not a surveil land. They're not going to give you $15 for it, right? So, but deck is abrasive, and it is very good at what it does. So, learn your lines, and the combo now with the Aftermath Analyst, like, if you produce enough mana, you can just fight through all the hate in the world. It doesn't matter. They have to have, like, I think it's like 6 lock pieces to, like, maybe be efficient at killing you, or like stopping you from doing your thing. And if you play your turns right, you can just be like, oh well, doesn't matter, I'll just do it again next turn unless you kill me.
Well, I'm tired just thinking about it. Ron, how's the energy RCQs going for you? You doubled up. You played last night and today.
Yeah. we talked about tips for good play. Do not do that.
I expected that's what you were about to say.
Do not get up at 3:45 in the morning to go to work a full day, come home, go to an RCQ that's supposed to start at 7, but never starts on time, and get started around 7:30-ish, after falling asleep in a chair.
We did hear Rob snoring
and stuff, and play some not so great energy because your mind isn't really where it needs to be, and then hang out and watch, two of your fam go at it in the finals, and then get up the next morning after getting home and getting to bed at like 3. Get up the next morning, do a couple things around the house, and run to another RC.
What compelled you to go to Sunshine today?
I don't know. Craziness. Lack of sleep, maybe. I don't know. I was still brain-addled.
That's so funny.
I know it is. Love for the game.
That is so funny because, Ron, I don't think you've heard this, but I told on Hartford weekend, Julian, Nick, and Stanley. But I actually... I think it was like 2 weekends ago now, I pre-registered for an RCQ on like Saturday. And then I woke up at like 9 a.m. to go to that thing, and I was like, I'm not driving an hour to go to this RCQ. And then I went back to sleep. But then I was like, I wake up later and I was like, oh, I ordered cards from this place. I have to go pick these up to go play on my RCQ the next day. So then I drive out there, they refund me my RCQ pre-registration. I pre-registered for the next RCQ, which is also an hour away, but on the other side of the state. So I was like, we're chilling. Wake up at 9 a.m., say, I'm not driving an hour to this RCQ, and then go back to sleep. And then they refunded me my pre-registration. So I've played zero modern RCQs this season because I've just been like, I'm just going to sleep.
I enjoy the game. I feel like my play is getting better, but, I definitely rank the 4 people sitting here with me as much tighter and better players than I am at this point. But I do enjoy the gathering side quite a bit. So even when I'm half asleep, it was nice to see some folks, today that I haven't seen in a while. And I actually, one of the things that was interesting is I played a mirror match that I ended up losing. But it was a guy from the area, but he gets quite busy seasonally, so he doesn't show up a lot. But he hadn't played a lot of energy, and I was actually got to do something I rarely get to do. I'm usually on the receiving end, but I got to teach him the proper way to create his cats when he had multiple prides out. And since that's been drilled into me, he's like, oh, I'll just make my 2 cats. I'm like, no, man, you're making a lot more than 2 cats. And he's like, why? Afterwards, he's like, well, thank you, but I don't expect most people at RCQs to let me know how to beat them quicker. It's like, yeah, but, now you know.
That's why he's OG.
He is OG. That's a fact right there. Jacob, what will you play when you do go to a modern RCQ?
Amulet or Neobrand. I think they're the 2 best decks in the format. Being able to put a very,
we used to be best buddies, but now
I mean,
Duracell. Play a Duracell battery.
Also, that's the second F-bomb I gotta go find and edit out.
Are we not doing F-bombs?
No.
Oh, I didn't know that. Come on.
I didn't know this was
I have
friendly.
to check some explicit
you gotta
box
recite
when
these
I
things.
upload it. Well, there's a reminder. It's fine. The software's great.
I've been playing a bunch of different decks online. There's a thing on MTGO right now where you get a gauntlet of decks that you can play for free. It's like Demir Murktide, Goryo's Vengeance, Boros Energy, Is It Prowess?
I love you started with 2 unplayable decks. You're like,
Yeah,
you play these meta decks.
Yeah, there's
Great.
3 actually good decks, and then Goryo's Vengeance is playable. All right, we'll get into that later.
Let's back up a step. What's happening? You
on
can play these decks for free?
MTGO, they have this thing up until the 27th, I want to say it is, where you can essentially play this gauntlet where you they give you a tier 1 deck of these 6, and you play them 3 rounds, and I guess you get prizes or something for them. I won my first one. where I queued into Eldrazi. My opponent revealed double Devour on turn 1. It took him 8 minutes to figure out what they wanted to pick. And then, like, it took them 7 minutes to resolve a Malevolent Rumble, so maybe they just, like, don't know how to play MTGO. But that one was pretty quick fashion, so I didn't really have a lot of testing with Izzet. But also, it says 6 decks. It gave me 3 choices, and it was, like, Dimir, Eldrazi, and Izzet. And I was like, well, I'm not playing Eldrazi because I think it's poorly positioned right now. Dimir's actually unplayable, in my opinion, so I guess I'm playing Izzet.
Eldrazi's great. That's a thumbs up for me.
Doesn't seem that way. I beat it.
Dude, hold on. Oh, wait, okay, alright, I'm not gonna attack you. No, so I'm gonna be the one to interject here. I have my next point of conversation because I think it's really interesting, and I don't think any of you have seen it. I talked to Julianne about this a little bit at Ice Cream, but there was an article posted on Twitter sometime. Oh, see you, Jacob. There's an article posted on Twitter sometime. Man, I was really hoping you'd be here for this. This is something cute.
Wow.
Actually, I'm not going to start the conversation. I'm going to wait for him to get back.
Okay.
No, I think he still has his headphones on.
I'm trying to investigate this. So it says something about spell grounds is what it's called. But when I click on it, nothing happens.
He does not have his headphones on.
That's
I was wrong.
You were wrong. All right, here we go. All right, Jacob, are you ready? I thought you'd find this conversation really interesting, so I was waiting for you to get back. But
I really needed water.
You're good. All right, so I'm gonna start now. There's an article posted on Twitter sometime. I don't know who wrote it, but Chamowitz posted it, and in our Discord. And it's about how Modern is actually just 2 decks. One of the decks is Jenga, and the other deck is Slop. And while this is really a comical way of painting the picture of what Modern is, I think it's actually extremely accurate and smart when you think about it, right? And the basic idea, the TLDR, is the Jenga decks are all these decks that are based on, like, a key combo piece that, like, if you just attack them from this very specific angle, they can't win the game because their deck is so linear and specific at doing what it does. They can just disrupt it, right? So that's going to be your Amulet Titans, your Belchers, your Ruby Storms, things like that. And then you have the Slop decks, where the Slop decks are, think of like your Modern Jund, where the deck is just extremely redundant in what it's doing, and you can't attack it via one specific angle, because then they're just going to attack you from a different angle. It's like, okay, you cast one Fatal Push against Boros Energy, they're just going to play another creature, then another creature, and another creature. So you have to... There's no one card that stops what they're doing, so you have to just attack them from a different way or just try to advance your own game plan. And so those are like your Boros Energies, your Gruul Eldrazi's, your... I don't know, some other deck. Ketamine, right? So I found it an extremely interesting way of painting Modern. I think it is pretty accurate, where people just have to decide if they want to play a Jenga deck or if they want to play a Slop deck. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Why are we calling regular decks Slop?
I'll chime in.
Okay, sorry, just to talk to Stanley. Like, I know that's why I started by saying, like, it's a comical way of painting it, right? Like, obviously Slop is like kind of a sad name, but like I think when you think about it in the context of the article, I think it's pretty accurate. It's a slop of cards that are all like doing the same thing. Like, all these cards are the same. Boros Energy plays 4 different cards that all are removal spell, but they do slightly different removal spell things, and they have 5 or 6 different cards that are all threats. You know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think being able to play decks that do inherently powerful things, no matter what, is very, very good in Modern. That's why you've started to see like Domain Zoo kind of creep back in there, because the cards in Domain Zoo are just innately powerful cards for themselves. Now, the best thing that you could be doing is, you go turn 0, put a Leyline into play, turn 1, play a Nikado, turn 2, play a Scion, right?
Oh, actually, I played against Domain Zoo yesterday, and Shane joked that his 5 is going to be Leyline, Land, Ragavan, Scion. Yeah, he was on the play. He opened with a ley line, played a land, played a Ragavan, passed the turn, and then I forget what I did because then on turn 2 he goes land Scion, and I'm like, oh, nice.
Yeah, it's just good. Like, there's a guy on Twitter. Here, let me pull him up real quick. Who I've been following. He's been killing it online with Domain Zoo. Manu Coca on Twitter posted a sideboard guide. He's like been killing it in challenges and leagues and stuff. I think he went like in his last couple of challenges, he went like first, third, second, eighth, fourth in challenges playing Domain Zoo. So I think if you want to play a deck that's just like good cards, you play your Domain Zoos, you play your Boros Energies, you play your Gruul or your Eldrazi. Those are probably in my top 3, and then your Jenga decks. I don't really know how I feel about Belcher right now. I know Julian and I were talking about it a bit at in Hartford, where I kind of really like this mono red version that's playing like the new Storm scale because you have this like alternate win condition.
I crushed Nick with mono red Belcher Storm or Belcher or whatever, sitting at it was Minneapolis. Shout out to Brocat because we love giving shout outs. Brocat handed me the mono red Belcher deck to play against Nick on Energy, and it was not unfun to play that. Like, okay, make 7 red mana, play Belcher, kill you. It was like, okay, I get it. I see the appeal.
I think that deck is probably a little bit better in open deck list than mono blue Belcher is because you have multiple angles of attack, unlike mono blue Belcher, where it's kind of like, well, I have like creatures with counter spells ish that I can protect my combo with. But if you're gonna play a deck that's like Jenga, then play Neobrander Titan. I got killed by Ruby Storm on turn 2 games in a row, but I don't know how I feel about that deck because both times that it happened, my opponent was like, "Oh, I'm gonna cast this Rinse Resolve and hope," and then they're like, "Oh, I hit another Rinse Resolve, so let's hope again." And then eventually, like it turned into they're like, "Oh, I found a Past in Flames. Let's hope that I can find a wish," and then they found a wish, and I was like, "Okay, now I'm dead." But it required a lot of them having to get to the correct thing where it's not like ad nauseum tendrils and Legacy where you only have to cast 10 spells to kill your opponent, right? Like, and also, quick Storm plug. Don't concede to your opponent until they show you a Grape Shot, right? Luis Scott Vargas top-8'd a Legacy Grand Prix without having Tendrils of Agony in his deck, in his entire 75, because he forgot to put it in, right? And no one knew about it until the top 8 because it was an open deck list until top 8, right? So if you're playing in an RCQ, don't concede to your opponent until you see the win condition, because it might not exist.
That's beautiful. But the one thing I want to say is I think it's funny you're talking about like Domain Zoo and Belcher specifically, because literally like during us recording this, right, the result of the Showcase Challenge dropped, and the top 8 had 2 Domain Zoos with another 3 in top 16, which is like kind of comical because before seeing that, I thought the deck was kind of just like unplayable, like high roll, like do you put a Scion and Leyline into play? If you do, you win. If you don't, you lose. But like seeing 5 in the top 16 of the Showcase Challenge is pretty crazy. And then same with Belcher. It looks like there's 3 Belchers in the top 8, 2 Belchers in the top 8, and then a handful more in the top 16. So 2 decks that are, I feel like, picking up in playability that really weren't really shining before. But yeah, Modern's interesting right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about Prowess briefly because I love Prowess. I think a lot of listeners love Prowess, and the deck was really fun. But I'm so off Violent Urge. I definitely have like negative 10 million desire to play that card, and unironically, what would have been better than Violent Urge for me, Monstrous Rage. Because there was this stupid little 0-3 reach in my way from Titan that like completely invalidated any spells I cast because they just chump block Slick Shot. And I forget the other scenario, but there was another scenario where I was like, well, this Violent Urge is going to do nothing because my opponent can just chump my bird. So I've got a 1 of Monstrous Rage in my deck. I'm really excited about it. Ryan McDonough, I think he won a league with his prowess list and posted it and was like, I don't know why the Slick Shot version became stock because this version's still really good. He initially kind of revived prowess or was the first one to do well with prowess and wasn't playing Slick Shot and Violent Urge and was instead playing more like good cards and interaction. And I liked Slick Shot. I enjoyed casting it again. I felt like I could deal a lot of damage. I killed a couple people with Slick Shot. But unironically, Arboreal Grazer was an issue. Getting Delirium as usual. I'm the goat of having 10 cards in my graveyard, but not having Delirium. So like Mengu talked a lot. Maybe not talked a lot, but like in Mengu's guide, he has the third Violent Urge in the sideboard, and he's like, yeah, we use Violent Urge to help raise combo. And I'm sitting here like, Violent Urge is not online fast enough for that to help me raise combo. But being able to rage over Arboreal Grazer would definitely help. I mean, it's just another bolt, except it also gives your creature trample. Which is far from irrelevant. So I am unsurprisingly ending up somewhere between like the build that Mengu shared that a lot of people have done well with like Slick Shot and Violent Urge, and McDonough's list, which is playing more threats and interaction and not like going for that Slick Shot double strike kind of deal. And I'm somewhere in between, and I like that. I like Slick Shot in the deck, but I don't really want to go for double strike. So I'm playing like a handful of good cards like McDonough, but also still playing some number of Slick Shots. So I'm tentatively kind of a little bit excited to play more modern. Which is not a thing I say very often. So, Nick, as much as you may hate my card choices, pretend you don't hate them that much so that I keep like playing modern, right? Yeah, there we go. We got a thumbs up. That's what we like to see. At least I'm not putting like it's not like I'm running a playset of Monstrous Rage, but one spicy Monstrous Rage. I have a 1 of Monstrous Rage, a 1 of Unholy Heat, and a 1 of Brazen Borrower in my main deck right now.
I remember last RCQ season, we were playing at Golden Fang, of course, because that's where all the stories come from. And me and you were playing next to each other, and it was when I was playing Energy, and you were playing Wizard still. And I remember somebody else in the room was playing Prowess with Monstrous Rage in their deck. And so they're playing, and then I hear them say Monstrous Rage, and then Stanley, I kid you not, he's like locked in his match, he's like a squirrel, just like, wait a second, who said that? Who said that? And I could tell he was just like so locked in on that Monstrous Rage from that moment. It's hilarious.
Monstrous Rage it's Lightning Bolt with upside. Like, every time I've cast a card, I'm like, this is just Lightning Bolt. Right? Because it's like, at its worst, right? It's Lightning Bolt. With these prowess creatures, like, DRC being a 4/4, I guess is fine. I mean, it's got trample too, but trample flying, has to attack each turn, but I don't know. I don't hate the idea. I just, I think it's like a big thing that came up with Nick in Hartford was we're so, like, plot-brained with Slick Shot where you're like, you feel like you always have to plot Slick Shot, but in Modern, it's just like, you need speed, right? So, every time I was playing Prowess, I'm like, well, do I just play the Slick Shot on turn 2 and force them to have a removal support? Also, you can just, like, play a Slick Shot on turn 3 if you have 3 lands, and they just die, right? Like mutagenic growth plus violent urge is what? That's it's a 7, gets to 8, that's 16 damage right there, right?
If you have delirium.
If you have delirium.
Lava Dart, though. Lava Dart, fantastic with Slick Shot. Yeah, and I remembered that conversation, and when I was playing against Titan, there was a game where on turn 2, I felt a little bit bad because I was tanking for a long time, but I had mutagenic Lava Dart, and I was trying to really aggressively calculate if I plot Slick Shot, how many draws give me a turn 3 kill? If I deal this 1 damage right now, do I get any more turn 3 kills? Because I don't think Titan has any ways to interact with my Slick Shot, and it took me a while, but I was like, I forget what the out was, but there was one card where if I drew that card for turn, I would deal 19 damage to my opponent on turn 3, which meant that I needed to cast Slick Shot instead of plotting Slick Shot. And I don't remember how it worked out, but the debate of plotting versus casting remains very real. For me personally, one of my struggles in Modern is just I don't know what everybody's up to. There's so many cards, there's so many decks, there's so many strategies that it's very hard to understand. Is it safe to just play out my Slick Shot against this deck? Is it safe to okay, my opponent played turn 1 Gilded Goose. Do I have to kill it, or can I take 1 turn to develop? Spoiler alert: I should have killed the goose. But yeah, I very carefully was well, it's a it improves my chances of winning the game. So I'm gonna just play this Slick Shot instead of plotting it. And then they played Arboreal Grazer, and I couldn't kill them because I didn't have Monstrous Rage. Arboreal Grazer is so good. My opponent Green Sun's Zenith for 1, turn 1 Zenith Arboreal Grazer, and it was unironically good. They won that game.
It's a pretty common line in that deck.
Okay, well, I was a little shocked to I was dang.
Well, to be fair, Green Sun Zenith was banned in Modern because WotC thought that, Green Sun Zenith for Giant Arbor on turn 1 was too powerful. So,
okay.
Your opponent started with 2 lands in play, vice 1 was too good for Modern.
Fair enough. I thought it was a, screw your Slick Shot line, but apparently it's a regular line. But either way, all the more reason for Titan matchup is really hard. Mangu's ideology was that Violent Urge helps you race combo decks, but between Delirium not being guaranteed and Arboreal Grazer being a chump blocker that's almost always going to be there against Titan, I just simply didn't feel like Violent Urge helped my chances at all, and instead I was begging for a Lightning Bolt to get the Grazer out of the way. So the 1 of Rage instead of 1 or 2 Violent Urges just feels like it gives me a better chance there.
I think Modern's in a great spot. There's a bunch of viable decks. I think the Black-White Blink deck's still very, very good. Affinity is still it's great. Now with Mox Opal, which unfortunately the deck is not the deck that I played 7 years ago, but I still think it's very good. Playing a Kappa Cannoneer on turn 2 just beats pretty much every deck in the format. If you can go turn 1 Tameo, turn 2 play a Cannoneer, and they don't kill your Tameo. Also, the fact that you can flip your Tameo on turn 2 most of the time is very, very good. There's also scenarios where you can flip it on turn 1 as well, but you're probably not going to have a hand anymore. And it's usually not correct to do it, but the deck's very good. Brood Scale is also a good deck. Don't be unfamiliar with how that deck plays. I was playing Hardened Scales for a little while, which I think it's fine, but I'd probably rather just play Brood Scale. I don't know. Boros is still 20% of the metagame. Prowess is right under it.
Energy.
Living End. I've seen Living End pop back up too. That deck is still good. and if you don't bring Graveyard Hate, you will lose Living End. And they also play 4 Force Negation, so just because you have Graveyard Hate doesn't mean it's going to resolve.
I was watching a Corey B video, and he was playing the Jeskai Affinity. Well, I don't know if it's really Affinity. It was the Jeskai Mox Opal deck with Narset. And I thought it was hilarious because he was looking at his opening hand, and it had Tamiyo, Mox Amber, double repeal with like a blue source. He was like, "Oh, I can flip my Tamiyo on turn 1 because I can go Tamiyo, Mox Amber, repeal the Mox Amber, draw, Mox Amber, repeal the Mox Amber, draw for the Tamiyo." And he was tanking so long about whether or not he should do it that he didn't stop to think about whether he was on the play or the draw. And so he realized he was on the play too late because he like starts the game, turn 1, Tamiyo, repeal the Mox Amber, and he was like, "Oh shoot, I haven't drawn a third card this turn because I didn't draw for turn." And so it was so funny because he takes so long thinking about, is this even right to do, that he didn't even stop to think, wait a second, am I on the draw? Like, but I thought it was hilarious because you mentioned flipping Tamiyo on turn 1, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that reminds me.
That's cool. A one-on-one question for you. I should bring in Consign against Living End and counter the Cascade trigger? Yes? That's a thing?
You should actually counter the cycling trigger.
Okay.
You could do that too. I mean,
Thanks
Neo
for being
Brand.
rude.
Neo Brand. I mean, you can attempt to do it. They're just going to tell you it's not a thing. Neo Brand's been playing Consign in its main deck just to consign its own pack triggers. That's why it's so good.
It's funny how good Consign is because, honestly, like, the people started playing it just because, oh, it's really good against Eldrazi, which is like one of the best decks. But then you kind of take a step back and you look at all the other decks, and Consign just has really good game against a lot of random stuff, like counter your Cascade trigger, counter your Storm trigger, counter you can counter Amulet untaps. Like, there's so many random weird corner case things you get to do.
I lost to Amulet because I didn't counter an untap. I just like got lost in the sauce of Modern. I was like, oh, I should do that, and then I was like, oh, they have 2 amulets, so it'll untap anyway. What's the point of only countering 1? Well, preventing them from gaining 3 mana, Stanley. That's the point. Like, them having 3 mana instead of 6 mana is a big deal.
I remember when I played in an MH3, like, pre-release. It was pre-release weekend. It was a limited RCQ, and I had Consign in my deck, and I texted a picture to Nick of my deck, and I was like, this card is so good. Like, on pre-release day 1, I was like, this card is so good. And he goes, that card seems terrible. What do you mean? And I was like, did you read the card? It's so good.
To be fair, I clearly didn't read the card because I thought it was just counter target triggered ability. And I was like, why are you playing this in our draft deck? And then I read it again, which he was like, did you ever read it? I read it again. I was like, oh, colorless spell. All right, that's a little better.
Nothing has made me more sad playing Legacy than the fact that there are decks that get to play 4 Stifle and 4 Consign to Memory. It makes me so sad because I was like, oh my god, let me crack my fetch land on turn 1. They stifle me. Oh my god, let me try to resolve my Painter Servant. Oh my god, guess what they're gonna do? Consign to Memory it. It's so toxic. And now I'm just like, let's just bring the power level of Modern up. Let's just put Stifle into Modern too so everyone can feel my pain. I'll play 0 fetch lands in my deck, only islands. We're running 4 Consign, 4 Stifle. Also, print Phyrexian Dreadnought into Modern, please.
Jacob, this whole podcast is just adding to the argument that Modern is Legacy Light.
Well, I thought it was funny when you all mentioned Stanley was talking about how he forgot how much shuffling occurs in Modern, and it just like immediately made me think about how they just like banned fetch lands in Modern because they didn't, or in Pioneer because they just didn't want people shuffling that much. But then you're like, well, everyone's mana base is terrible. Like, the only way to play that format is play monocolored decks. So, unban fetch lands. Or ban them in every format. Ban them in every format, actually.
All right, we have reached the hot takes section of the show. Ron, let's hear your big hot take.
Jacob's got some takes for all of us. Apparently, wow. No, my hot take
is that your hot take? Because I was like, that's just a fact.
Ron's always got a hot take. I'm ready to hear about his island and his sideboard, how that worked out.
I didn't play it that way.
That. Oh,
I didn't play it that way.
What deck were you playing that had an island in the sideboard?
Don't worry about it.
Boros Energy!
What? Freaking side to memory? I mean, I guess you get off footed strand, but why don't you just play Hollowed Fountain?
Because okay,
I had a free spot the way I was putting the deck together, and I was like, I'll just throw.
How he explained it to me was, if I have a Blood Moon in play, I cannot consign.
Oh my, okay, we get that. I have a funny story to tell about testing.
All right, hold on, Jacob. We really need to hear Ron's hot take. I don't want to take that microphone away from him.
Okay.
No, that's fine. My hot take this week is get some rest. That's my hot take.
Too hot. Can't sport.
That's a normal take. Nick's clap.
I'm so tired. That is a hot take, Stanley.
All right.
Stock it up. Very good.
Fair enough. Accepted. All right, Jacob. Tell us your story.
When I was trying to figure out how to sideboard for RC Hartford, Stanley was playing on my arena account at my apartment, and he was like, I don't know, might as well just like cut two Lee's Carpotion for us. Seemed fine to me.
It was an aggro mirror. What else?
It was an aggro mirror. So just like immediately as soon as like Ron was like, gotta play extra lands in my sideboard just in case, I was just like, well, Stanley thinks the exact opposite of that, because apparently if you can't figure out what to board out, just board out your lands.
And Jacob, what happened after I boarded out 2 Carpotion
Oh, you
for us?
cranked your opponent. But you also exactly like 4 land, 3 spell, broken hand, which I was like, what is this? Why did he get this? Why not me?
I think the funniest part is, if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure that was like game 2, and then you went to game 3, and we were like adjusted the sideboard plan slightly. Like, oh, what if you bring in these other 2 cards? Stanley without hesitation brings them in, cuts the other 2 card Fusion Force, and couldn't submit. And I'm like, what are we doing? Alright, I was like, alright, Jacob, write it down. -4 card Fusion Force. That's mono red. There it is. That's the plan. We're playing. Lock it in.
That's what Stanley isn't telling people on his Patreon, and the people who buy his sideboard guide. The real strategy is these board out lands.
Honestly, so first of all, no, but honestly, sometimes my sideboarding strategies are so unhinged. I'm like, I can't put this in a paid product. I gotta come up with something better. There's no shot I can, like, in good faith, give people this advice. Like I did in the Leyline guide, like leave my 61 card plan. You can thumbs down all you want. I was undefeated against mono white.
I was so annoyed with the number of people who were asking me, what are the other 2 cards you're cutting? Like, why are you only bringing 2? You didn't finish the sideboard guide. Like, come on. Like, what is taking out against mono white? I was like, nope, that's just what Stanley's doing, man. He's just bringing 2 in, not bringing anything else out. +2, -0, man. Lock it in.
I try to avoid that all the time. Like I try to avoid it as much as I can. But you know, it's like I shared when I posted my insane prowess list, which was like within centimeters of qualifying me for the Pro Tour. I was like, at this point, nobody opens Twitter and expects a hinged deck list from me. It's always got to be some percentage unhinged, but believe it or not, the stuff you see is me actively trying to at least like rein it in a little bit. I mean, to be fair, I think on average my unhinged plans, they go pretty well, but I am acutely aware that there's a difference between like unhinged and like in the lake down the road, you know?
I did unironically start cutting lands in Hartford.
Oh, that's right.
Because it was like round 7, and I remember like the week before Hartford, I was like, you know, Stanley, the thing I just can't stand about your deck is you're only playing 20 lands. I'm like, you have to be playing at least 21. And so, of course, I registered 21 at Hartford, And then by like round 7, I'm like, dude, I'm literally flooding every single match I play. He was like, just cut a land. I was like, are you sure? You're like, yeah. I mean, if you're flooding, your deck list was clearly just not correct. So just cut a land, go down to 20. It's like, okay. And so then like the next 3 matches, I win to sideboard, I just cut a land, never had an issue. I was like, all right.
I was unironically cutting Soulstone Sanctuary and a Calpursian Forest in the aggro mirrors. Because I was like, I'm playing... First of all, I thought I was playing 21 lands, but turns out I registered 22. Because I didn't realize the list I copied and just cut a land for a spell when I was building the deck was like... They were playing 2 Soulstone Sanctuaries, and I cut 1. And I was like, oh, that'll put me at, like 20 or 21 lands. Like, they're playing 23 lands. So I was like, oh... And then I figured this out, like, on my second Izzet mirror, and I was like, well, I'd rather have more spells than lands, and I really only need, like, 3 lands anyway, so, like, once I can just start jamming Nemesis on top of each other, or Nemesis on top of each other, we're good.
Yeah, actually, I got to play against Peter H., Amulet Titan Expert. He was on Mono Red, and, we talked about, sideboards and strategy and decks and stuff, and he, instead of like boarding out the land, he put his 22nd land in the sideboard and was basically like, the question is, am I going to flood more in game 1s, or am I going to miss the 15th sideboard card more often post board? And the conclusion he came to, which I think is probably correct, that like flooding in game 1 is something that affected him more often. So he threw that Soulstone in the sideboard, and in one of my early prowess lists, I had a mountain in the sideboard, and I think the TLDR on this last section is that Stanley's unhinged ideas aren't always all that unhinged. They kind of work a pretty fair percentage of the time. I get made fun of a lot, but hey, if it works, it works.
I also think that kind of like tying it in, what Peter's talking about is I know a lot of Amulet players in the past. It's got a lot better now that we have Beseiju, but you really started playing like basics, like at least like up basic in your sideboard for like Blood Moon, Magus of the Moon. So it kind of like translates over when you're like, well, I really just play more lands in the sideboard, like just in case. I do need them. For X, Y, and Z reason. Like, every time you look at an Amulet sideboard, there's at least 3 lands of some type in the sideboard. But there's sometimes in certain metas you're going to play basics, just for those non-basic land effects that are going to screw you.
Yeah, lands are underrated. I think most people just, like, pick a winning deck list and play those lands because that's what people played. But, I love the entire 75, not just the non-lands. So, yeah. Well, we are closing in on the 90-minute mark. We're definitely in the closing remarks section. Anything else? RC Hartford, modern RCQs, The Gathering related? Anyone wanted to queue up for today's episode?
Anybody who knows a Neo brand expert, send them my way, because oh, Nick, are you the guy, or do you know someone? Because I feel like I'm just sideboarding wrong every game.
So, okay, honest answer and fake answer. I did actually just order the cards as Mystical Neo brand during this episode, so I will be owning Neo brand soon. But also, while I don't consider them a Neo brand expert, the person I would trust-ish is probably
Stanley 2099.
No, he hates combo decks. But you should watch Canister, because he probably posted it onto YouTube, and I know he's been playing the deck a lot. And I was watching him the other day as well. I know he's generally pretty good with those type of things, so check him out, I would say.
Also, anybody who can recommend an RC or an RCQ to show up to in the Connecticut, New England area, please let me know, because I have not gone to a single one, and I am dying. I need to, like, RC Hartford reinvigorated my love for competitive Magic, so I need to qualify for Houston or Vegas. I don't care, but I gotta go to some of them. But when I'm looking at this, this thing, and it says, locator, everyone is 70 miles away. I'm willing to drive, but if it sucks, please, I'm not driving anymore. So tell me the good ones, so I can actually show up to these things.
All right, so call for help from Jacob. If you got any info for JK, drop it in the comment section. Another thing that you might want to comment, I'm sure there's a lot of Magic Grandpa fans out there, and it is Ron's birthday tomorrow. Happy almost birthday, Ron.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Send
Yes.
Ron some happy birthday wishes, some good
Stock
vibes.
it up, yeah.
Stock it up for him. Ron had just an impeccable Santa Claus look during our last episode. He's cleaned it up to get ready for the birthday celebrations. But
Yeah, I was getting a little too wild woodsman, kind
we
of.
loved it. The Santa Claus look was 11 out of 10, honestly. But yeah, happy birthday to our favorite Magic
Thank you.
Grandpa.
Thank you.
So yeah, thanks a lot for listening. That'll be it for Nick's.
I have
Oh.
I have a
item.
plug. I didn't run this by you, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Excellent.
And I also just double-checked the email to make sure I was allowed to say this. But on June 4th, I will be participating in the MTG Arena Early Access for Final Fantasy. So if y'all are interested in watching your second local Monstrous Rage player stream some Final Fantasy drafts and play some bad Is It Prowess decks with Vivi, then I'll be your guy on June 4th. So check it out.
What's your Twitch handle?
I think it's Nick Odenheimer.
I think it's Nick Odenheimer.
Let me
All
double
right.
check. Yeah,
No
Nick, it's
original.
literally just Nick Odenheimer. No, brackets, nothing. Just Nick Odenheimer.
All right.
But I'll definitely post in the Patreon Discord for sure when I go live. But
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And Nick will
Dude.
post on Twitter when he goes live as
so
well.
I will do that. Yes.
Everyone's Twitter is linked in the description, so Nick will post on Twitter. That's awesome. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So definitely hang out with Nick during the Final Fantasy Early Access. Nick's also rocking the Heavy Play hoodie. Thanks Heavy Play, as always.
Love you, Heavy Play. Stock it up.
Stock it up. Yeah, buy stuff from Heavy Play. Patreon's there.
10% off with either of our codes.
10% off. Patreon, great place to be, great place to hang out, learn about Magic, get good, all that stuff. Yeah, so instead of cue the outro music, we're gonna sing "Happy Birthday" to Ron real quick, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right, thanks everybody.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ron Rise.
Oh,
Happy
birthday
birthday to
Yay,
you.
yippee.
And many more.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Yippee, yippee.